Okay. Couple other things, some special equipment notes. This was present in Shock Force, but it's much more prevalent in this game. Remote weapon stations. The Abrams here is an excellent example of that. This Abrams is using the Crow's remote weapon station. It's this machine gun here. You'll notice there's no guy up, out of the turret, poking out of the turret, manning the machine gun. That's because it's being remotely controlled from inside the vehicle. Some vehicles have this, and it's very useful. You'll want to make note of which ones, because this means they can engage enemy infantry at closer ranges more safely. Since the guy doesn't have to poke his head out, you don't have to worry about the guy getting sniped by enemy infantry while he shoots. So these are very useful systems. Some of the vehicles have them. Let me think, some. The Russian T-90AM has them. The Ukrainian BTR-4 has them, and the Strikers have them. Remote weapon station, very useful. Okay. One other very common weapon system you'll see in this game is the anti-tank guided missile, which you're often going to see abbreviated to ATGM, and the Bradley here is about to use it. Right there. Let's go ahead and zoom in and back that up. Okay, so anti-tank guided missiles are used by a lot of vehicles that are not main battle tanks, and even some main battle tanks for the Russians. The advantage of an anti-tank guided missile is that they have extremely long range, usually in excess of 4 kilometers. They're typically in excess of a main battle tank's like main gun. They're usually the longest range thing on the battlefield. They also tend to be very strong. They usually can kill anything they hit. And they give even like small, just regular infantry running around or small vehicles the ability to be a threat to any vehicle. However, they do have some major disadvantages. In one, if you notice it's very slow. See how long it takes it to reach its target. See, it's still going. That took a long time to reach there. What that means is the target can actually dodge behind trees or some other buildings or some other obstacle and can possibly avoid the missile before it hits. Also, with most anti-tank guided missiles, the operator who's shooting the missile has to keep a reticle on the target. He has to literally hold it on the target, and that guides the missile to it. If you manage to kill the operator, or you just shoot at him and you make him duck, then he can't guide the missile anymore, and usually it's going to veer off and hit the ground. Some tanks also have dazzlers that can interfere with the guidance system for the missile, or they can deploy smoke grenades. They'll automatically detect that they're being targeted, and they'll deploy smoke grenades, and it'll block line of sight, and then the missile misses. So there's a variety of countermeasures against these missiles. But the takeaway thing for these missiles is that they allow even dismounted enemy infantry to be grave threats to tanks. Okay, Mike asks, in the old CM games there was a percentage kill chance when targeting. No, there is none of that anymore. There may be in the future, but it hasn't been done right now because the damage model is much more complex than it was in the first combat mission games. And Poloffs makes a good point about using the arc, being careful to use the arc when there's a threat you might have forgotten about. You want to be very careful about using the arcs. You don't want to overuse them, because if you happen to give an arc in one direction, like I did with this guy, if this was a real combat situation and these tanks were shooting back, this guy would be toast, right? He's not going to shoot at them. He's looking the wrong way. So you want to be very careful about using your target arcs. Typically, I use them for ambushes and things like that if I want to constrict a unit's firing completely. For the most part, though, I trust my units to just fire on their own and pick their targets intelligently. And then he asks, why isn't there a command to give a direction? There actually is, and we'll go over that in just a second. We'll let these units keep shooting away. By the way, some people are probably wondering, let me go back to when this TOW hits. I'm sure some people are wondering this right now. So you'll notice that the TOW there did not actually hit the vehicle, it went above it. This is actually pretty cool. It's the newest version of the TOW-2B missile. It actually flies above the target and then it shoots down a penetrator into the top of it. That didn't actually demonstrate it very well. Most anti-tank guided missiles don't do this, and they go straight at the target. And yeah, see right there, it actually goes above and then shoots down. Very neat weapon system. Yes, Polofs makes a good point. You can't use it. You cannot use face during movement. That is true. JTC asks, is there a way to give a cover arc that is not static to the vehicle, but instead static to a given point? No, sorry, that's not possible right now. What you can do is you can just keep giving different cover arcs at each waypoint, which we'll get into later when we do stacking commands. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and advance this. Alright, so we're going to go over Air Burst really quick, and then we're actually done. So, some vehicles, usually the most advanced vehicles for every given army, have Air Burst munitions. It was present on one vehicle in Shock Force, but is far more prevalent now in Black Sea. This basically allows some vehicles to be extra effective against enemy infantry in cover. So we're just going to give them a normal target command, and this is also going to go into play with how the AI intelligently selects its ammunition and weapon systems based on the target. So all I did was give it a target command to attack the top of this building. Right? I just press T, go to the roof, click on it, we got a red line. Okay, so we're going to advance the turn, and the Abrams is going to shoot at the building. So you notice that the round, instead of slamming right into the building, it actually exploded above it. Go ahead and rewind and show you. So, some vehicles, the most advanced, like I said, and also the U.S., one U.S. small arms, which we'll get into later, has programmable air burst ammunition. And basically what they can do is they can set the fuse for the round to go. They shoot the round above, and then the fuse actually sets it to explode right above the target. And that's really useful when you're engaging enemy infantry in cover, because you can basically negate their cover. So this wall does nothing if the explosion happens over here above their heads. So vehicles will use that automatically as they see fit when they're engaging infantry targets. So you want to be very careful if you're up against one of these tanks against exposing your enemy infantry, because if they got a shot off, that infantry that's been spotted is probably toast, because they can often KO them in one hit. Also, I believe at the beginning of this turn we demonstrated something else that new players should probably know about. Let's go ahead and look at it. Alright, so you notice that this vehicle was already destroyed, no one was shooting at it, and yet it exploded. Combat mission does do cook-offs, ammunition cook-offs. So right now all the ammunition that's stockpiled on this vehicle is burning, and it's going to explode. And that's what you saw there. Over this scenario, this ammunition is actually going to explode in this vehicle. So if you see a burning vehicle, you want to keep your infantry away from it, because they will get hurt or killed if they're next to this thing and it starts cooking off like that. It will burn for, I think, around 20 minutes or so, and then the fires will die out and it's not as much of a threat anymore. But yes, keep your infantry away from burning vehicles. Okay, so that's the end of Mission 1. We've completed all the objectives of this mission. There's more stuff to shoot at, but I think we're just going to keep going. We'll go ahead and watch that TOW shoot. Those are always fun to watch. And it's down. By the way, those are not foolproof even if there's no enemy resistance. They can miss just from operator error. Depending upon the missile system, it could be anywhere from a 30% to a 5% chance to miss. Alright, so, mission's over. This mission does not end normally, like the enemy force will not surrender and the mission will just automatically end. We have to end it ourselves. If you want to end a mission yourself without actually losing it, go to Menus, and then hit Ceasefire. What Ceasefire does is it just stops the mission in its tracks and totals up the points. It's exactly the same as if the counter on the clock had run down to 0 and the game ended. It's exactly what a ceasefire is. Surrender is a little different. It means you lose. You're going to give up all your objectives, all your units surrender to the enemy. So typically you don't want to use surrender, you want to hit ceasefire. So it'll ask you if you want to ceasefire, and just hit yes, and then it stops and totals up the points. This is the AAR screen. We're going to go into this later. We're not going to worry about this right now. Alright, so you can review the map. yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this. We're going to do this later. All right, so just hit end. All right, and then you'll be prompted to save the game. You always want to save the game between missions in a campaign. Combat mission does not make auto-saves. You need to save yourself. So make sure you save. Save between every mission. And between missions in a campaign, you can actually choose a different playing option if you want real-time and turn-based. We're going to stick with turn-based. And we'll hit OK, and we'll go to the next mission. It's been 1 hour, guys. I'm going to take a